Madam, this fertility tonic won't be effective if it gets cold. Lior held the medicine bowl, smiling with a face full of concern. Fertility tonic. I stared at that bowl of pitch black decoction, and my stomach began to churn. I drank it for 3 years in my past life, for over 1,000 days and nights. Like a fool, I held this bowl of sterility soup and devoutly poured it into my stomach, thinking it was because Sheheng was eager for a child. Actually, he was just afraid I'd bear a child with Shen family blood, making it hard to wipe us out root and branch in the future. Madam, Lior handed it forward again. Scenes flashed through my mind. When father was torn apart by 5 horses, his entrails dragged all over the ground. When eldest brother was skinned, his eyes were still open. My 3-year-old nephew was hoisted on the tip of a spear, unable to even cry out. The whole family, 72 people, leave no one alive. Madam, the general is coming back to rest tonight. Lior's voice continued. You must nurse your body back to health, so you can soon bear heirs for the general. Bear heirs, what a joke. Smack. I raised my hand and slapped her across the face, crisp, loud. The medicine bowl clattered to the floor, splattering black liquid all over her skirt. Lior covered her face, stunned. Madam, who told you to stand while serving? I brushed the medicine off my hand, my tone as flat as if I were saying the weather was nice today. The Shen family rule. When the master drinks medicine, the servant must kneel. I paused. Ziheng didn't teach you. A trace of venom flashed in Lior's eyes. She quickly suppressed it again. She knelt down with a thud, her voice trembling with tears. This servant knows her mistake. This servant was just too worried about Madam's health. Worried, I got out of bed barefoot. I walked up to her step by step. I lifted her chin with the tip of my toe. This face, so tender, who would have thought beneath this skin, hides a heart like snakes and scorpions. In my previous life, it was she who forged father's letters colluding with the enemy, stuffed them into my dressing box, sent them into the throne room. Since you are so worried, I took my foot off. Then stay kneeling. Kneel until this time tomorrow, and let's see if you are still worried. Stepping past her, I walked over to the bronze mirror. The person in the mirror had a rosy complexion, but the look in her eyes was cold enough to freeze. It is the 3rd year of Yuanhe, the 8th day of the 12th lunar month. There are 93 days left until the entire Shen family is executed. There are 2 days left until Sheheng takes my dowry to fill his bottomless pit. The door curtain lifted. Cold wind poured in, carrying a familiar scent of agarwood. Ning, why are you so furious? Exiheng came back, dressed in moon, white casual wear, gentle as jade. If it were before, I would have already thrown myself into his arms. Now, I just want to puke, nothing. I turned around and forced a smile, weak, pale. Just dreamed someone wanted to kill my whole family. Ziheng's hand paused while untying his cloak. Ziheng quickly regained his composure. He walked over, naturally going to put his arm around my shoulder. I quietly avoided him, walking to the table to pour water. What nonsense. He sat down in his usual spot, brows slightly furrowed. With me here, who dares touch father-in-law? Yeah, I picked up my teacup and gently blew away the floating foam. Father commands 300,000 heavy troops. Even the emperor has to be wary of him. Who would dare make a move? I enunciated every word very softly. Ziheng's eyelid twitched. High achievements threaten the sovereign. This was the biggest excuse he used to frame the Shen family later on. Awning. He sighed, looking worried. You know as well as I do, the tallest tree in the forest faces the strongest wind. During yesterday's morning court, there were 3 more memorials of impeachment, all directed at father-in-law. Here it comes. It was just like this in my past life, brainwashing me bit by bit, getting me to persuade father to give up his military power, claiming it was to keep us safe. But the moment the power was handed over, the Shen family became meat on the chopping block. Then what do you mean, husband? I played dumb, blinking my eyes at him. Sheheng stood up and walked to the window. with his back to me. The moonlight fell upon him, giving him a somewhat desolate look. Great acting. If the northern frontier tiger tally could be temporarily handed over to the Ministry of War for safekeeping. He paused. Perhaps it could silence the wagging tongues. The Minister of War is his man. Handing it over would be like hitting a dog with a meat bun. But husband, you know father's temper. I frowned, looking troubled. That tiger tally is his lifeblood. That is why I need you to go speak to him. Ning. Zia Heng turned around, walked up to me, held my hand, deeply affectionate. Ning. I am doing this for the Shen family's good, and for our good, too. Once this storm passes, I will petition the Emperor to grant you the title of First, rank titled Lady. First, rank titled Lady. In the last life, these robes were worn on Luer. I lowered my head, looking at the hand he was holding, wishing I could slice that piece of flesh right off. By the way, Xi Heng seemed to suddenly remember something. Provisions at the northern camp have been tight recently. The Ministry of Revenue refuses to allocate silver. He paused. Ning, on your end, the fox's tail is showing. He doesn't just want power. He wants money too. The Shen family is wealthy enough to rival the nation, and my dowry was 10 miles of red. In my past life, he used my money to raise private troops and bribe officials. In the end, he held a knife to the necks of my father and brother. Money. I pulled my hand back and smoothed the hair at my temples. Husband knows this. Busyness in my dowry shops hasn't been easy lately either. Ziheng's expression changed. Ning, it is only 50,000 taels. For you, it is a drop in the bucket. 50,000 taels is indeed not much. I smiled. But just the other day, I invested all the ready silver into the silk business down south. Now the books are so empty, you could run a horse through them. Ziheng's face instantly darkened. He urgently needed this money. The 3,000 death soldiers kept outside the city are waiting to eat. How could it be such a coincidence? His voice already carried a note of suspicion. It is just that coincidental. I looked at him innocently. If husband doesn't believe me, you can go check the accounts. I already had someone balance the books. He won't find shit. Just then, Liuer, kneeling on the ground, suddenly spoke. The voice sounded miserable. General, don't blame Madam. Madam might be in a bad mood. She even hit me just now. Xi Heng only then noticed that there was still someone kneeling on the ground. He glanced at the red mark on Liuer's face. A look of heartache flashed in his eyes. When he turned to look at me, his tone had already changed. Ning Liuer is an old servant you brought from your maiden home. How could you hit her so hard? I picked up the teacup, gently blew. Old man? She secretly wore the red coral bracelet bestowed upon me. In the palace, that gets a hand chopped off. I slammed the teacup onto the table. I am just setting the rules for my husband. To avoid word getting out later, saying the Shia residence has no sense of propriety. Even a maid can climb onto the mistress's head. Ziheng froze. He didn't expect that I, usually so gentle, would be this aggressive today. Liuer was trembling with fear, subconsciously covering her cuff. That string of red coral was hidden inside at this very moment. That was a love token Xi Heng had secretly given her, bought with my dowry, search. I spat out the word. The old women outside the door immediately rushed in. The 2 old women were ones I brought from the Shen family. They had practiced martial arts. They had a strong grip. Before Liuer could even react, she was pinned to the ground. General, save me, she screamed, looking desperately toward Xi Heng. Xi Heng's face was livid, and he wanted to speak. If you find anything, it is on me. I cut him off. If you can't find anything, I'll kowtow to her and apologize. Eyes fixed dead on him. Husband, you are protecting a maid like this. Could it be there is something going on here that I don't know about? These words left him speechless. He still doesn't dare to completely fall out with me right now. He still needs the Shen family's military power. Needs my money. Rip. The cuff was torn open. A string of bright red coral rolled out. On the bluestone floor. It was particularly glaring. The entire room was silent. Shai Heng's expression was absolutely spectacular. That bracelet is of superb quality. The prized treasure of the capital's treasure pavilion. It is worth a fortune. With Luer's monthly wages as a maid, she couldn't afford it even if she saved for 10 lifetimes. Oh. I picked up the bracelet and twirled it around my fingertips. It really is. Looking at Sha Hong with a half smile. Husband, I remember this bracelet. You said a few days ago you were going to give it to a colleague's wife as a birthday gift. You withdrew 3,000 taels of silver from the storeroom. How did it end up in this lowly maid's hands? The veins on Shi Heng's temples throbbed. He was a man who cared extremely about saving face. Being exposed like this in public was worse than killing him. It might be, he gritted his teeth. Lior was muddled for a moment and stole it. He shifted the blame. Lior suddenly raised her head. Her eyes were filled with shock and despair. General, shut up. Ziheng kicked her right in the chest, kicked him right until he puked blood. That is ruthless. To save his own skin, he could sacrifice even his precious darling without hesitation. I sneered in my heart, but on my face I looked like I suddenly understood. So, it turns out, a thief in the family is hard to guard against. Since my husband has spoken. Then we'll deal with it according to family rules. I paused. Bag her away. Beat her to death. The tone was light, like throwing away a piece of trash. Lior screamed. General, save me, I have. She wanted to say she was pregnant. I knew, just turned 2 months. In the past life, she used this belly to force me to give up my position. Shai Heng's expression changed drastically. If Luer shouts out that she is pregnant, that would be favoring a concubine over the wife. His official career would be ruined. Hold on, he shouted loudly. I raised an eyebrow at him. Husband, is your heart softening? Stealing the master's property is a capital crime. Ziheng took a deep breath and lowered his voice. Ning, today is your birthday. It is bad luck to see blood. Why not lock her in the woodshed for now and just sell her off in a few days? Birthday? No wonder he remembers. But he remembered wrong. My birthday is next month. Today is the death anniversary of that dead white moonlight of his. His mind was in such chaos. He even got this mixed up. I didn't expose him. I just nodded with a half smile. As you say, husband, then lock them in the woodshed. Starve for 3 days. No one is allowed to give her water. Luer was dragged away. A trail of blood was left on the ground. Ziheng was clearly no longer in the mood. He hastily said a few words, intending to go to the study. Husband. I called out to him as he stepped over the threshold. Ziheng looked back. The impatience in his eyes could barely be hidden. Anything else? Nothing. I walked up to him. I reached out to straighten his collar. My fingertips grazed his carotid artery. It was pulsing very fast there. I just wanted to remind you, husband. The study is a restricted area. It is best if idlers don't enter, in case any confidential letters go missing. I paused. That would mean losing one's head. Ziheng's body suddenly stiffened. He stared at me. His gaze was as sharp as a knife. What do you mean? I smiled. Took a step back. I was just saying it casually. Why are you so nervous, husband? Ziheng gave me a deep look, turned around and strode away. Watching his back, the smile on my face vanished instantly. Tonight is the best time. Midnight, the Shi residence was dead silent. I changed into black night clothes and avoided the patrolling guards. The Shen family is a military clan. Though I am a woman, I trained in lightness skills with my father and brothers for a few years. Scaling a wall is no problem. Ziheng's study is in the most secluded corner of the rear courtyard, usually heavily guarded, but today the guards were noticeably lax, because Shai Heng had transferred all his trusted men to watch the woodshed. He was terrified something would happen to that lowly maid carrying his seed. I slipped into the study without a sound. The desk was piled high with official documents. I didn't need to look at those. I went straight for the secret compartment behind the bookshelf. In my past life, I accidentally saw it once. It was from here that he took out that secret letter of collusion with the enemy. The mechanism is under an inkstone on the third row of the bookshelf. Click, a soft sound, and the secret compartment popped open. Inside lay a stack of letters and a small black wooden box. My heart raced as I reached out to grab those letters. By the moonlight, I made out the handwriting on them. They were letters written imitating my father's handwriting, addressed to the barbarian chieftain of the northern frontier. Every word was treason, selling out the country for glory. It really was him. I was just about to stuff the letters into my robes when suddenly, footsteps sounded outside the door. Extremely light. Extremely fast. It was an expert. Immediately after, the study door was shoved open violently. "Who is in there?" Heng's voice was as sinister as a ghost from hell. I didn't move, keeping my back to him, clutching that stack of letters tightly in my hand. There was no escape. There was only one exit here. Heng held up a candlestick, approaching step by step. Shadows danced across his face, making him look hideous and terrifying. "Turn around." He drew the sword at his waist, the tip pointing straight at the center of my back. The moment I turned and he saw my face, that sword would pierce my heart without hesitation. But what if he strikes without seeing who it is? The atmosphere was so tense it was suffocating. Sweat slid down my spine. Right at this critical moment, I made a life, or death decision. I didn't turn around, but threw that stack of letters directly into the charcoal basin beside me. Whoosh! Flames instantly shot up. Heng turned pale with shock. Forgetting about killing, he threw down his sword and lunged over to save the letters. Just as he lunged over, he turned around, revealing my face. "Husband, it is the middle of the night. What shady things are you burning?" Heng's hand froze in the charcoal basin. Flames licked at his fingertips. Yet, he felt no pain. He raised his head, staring dead at me. In that look, there was shock, killing intent, and the humiliation of being stripped naked. But what he didn't see was that from the cuff of my other hand, a black iron token was sliding out. That was a token of the northern frontier barbarians. The real ironclad proof of colluding with the enemy wasn't the letters. It was this. And this token, at this moment, landed silently by his feet. "Aning, why are you here?" Heng's voice was hoarse, carrying a hint of a tremble. He slowly stood up straight, blocking the charcoal basin behind him. That stack of forged letters had already burned to ashes. The evidence was gone. But he didn't know that a bigger death warrant had already been planted. Heng's mental fortitude was extremely strong. Even though I caught him in the act, he only took 2 breaths to adjust his expression. "Aning, this isn't a place you should come to." He walked toward me step by step, his foot stepping right on that black token, but he didn't notice at all. I couldn't sleep, so I wanted to find a book to read. I put on an innocent face and pointed at the bookshelf. "But husband, why are you hiding that kind of woman's judo in the study?" "What?" Heng froze. I pointed at a corner of fabric in the charcoal brazier that hadn't finished burning. That was a piece of red cloth I'd pulled from my bosom while throwing the letters just now, tossing it in mixed with the papers. That was Liuer's belly band, which I'd swiped in passing while searching her earlier. Heng whipped his head around, and seeing the faintly visible image of mandarin ducks playing in the water inside the brazier, his expression instantly became extremely bizarre. He thought I was burning letters, but it turns out I was burning love letters. This is a huge misunderstanding, but it also saved his life, at least temporarily dispelling his killing intent. Heng was so angry he was speechless. "You barged into the study in the middle of the night, just for this?" "Why else?" My eyes turned red, and the tears came just like that. "My husband beat and scolded me during the day over that cheap wench, and at night he is in this study looking at things and pining for her. Heng, have you done right by me?" I was crying my eyes out, walking out while crying, and when I passed by him, I bumped into him on purpose. A Ning. Zhiheng reached out trying to grab me. I shook off his hand and ran out of the study crying. I ran to the corner of the yard, stopped, wiped my tears, and looked back. The light in the study was still on. Zhiheng, do you think this is the end? The show is just getting started. Early the next morning, the Xia Manor exploded into chaos. Because the guards on patrol last night found a token at the door of the study, the Black Eagle token of the Northern Border Barbarians. That is a token of the barbarian royal family. Seeing the token is like seeing the ruler himself. If this thing appeared at the border, it would be a trophy of war. But showing up in the general's manor in the capital, that is ironclad proof of colluding with the enemy. The one who found the token was none other than Zhiheng's arch enemy, the spy planted in the manor by supervising eunuch Lai. This was all thanks to Zhiheng transferring all his trusted men to guard the woodshed last night, which gave that spy the opportunity. I was sitting at my vanity drawing my eyebrows when I heard the servants report that the Jinyue had surrounded the Xia residence. Madam, it is bad. The commander of the Jinyue has come personally with his men. The maid was so scared her face turned deathly pale. The eyebrow pencil in my hand was rock steady as I finished the last stroke. What is the panic? I stood up, looking at my stunning self in the mirror. Let's go. Let's see what the fuss is about. The front hall. Zhiheng knelt on the ground, clothes disheveled, clearly just dragged out of bed. Sitting opposite him was a man wearing a flying fish robe, with an embroidered spring blade at his waist. Commander of the Jinyue, Liu Yan. He was also the capital's notorious living Yama, General Xia. Explain yourself. Liu Yan toyed with that pitch, black command token in his hand, his tone languid. How did this thing end up at the entrance of your study? Zhiheng was sweating profusely, his face pale as paper. Lord Liu, this is a frame-up. It is a setup. This humble general is loyal to the emperor with absolutely no treacherous intent. A frame-up? Liu Yan scoffed. This Black Eagle token is cast from black iron. There are only 3 of them in the world. General Xia is saying that someone stole the barbarian prince's token, went out of their way to come to your manor, and threw it at the door of your study. Zhiheng was unable to defend himself. He was indeed in the study last night, and he had indeed burned something. All of this was too coincidental. So coincidental that it seemed like a carefully orchestrated setup. He jerked his head up, his gaze searching through the crowd. Finally, it fixed on me. In that instant, he understood. Last night I went to the study, not to burn a bodice, but to place this token. But he couldn't figure it out. I am just a woman of the inner chambers. Where would I get a barbarian token? This token was actually captured by my father and brother on the battlefield, and had always been secretly kept in the Shen family's secret chamber. The first thing I did after my rebirth was to have someone retrieve this thing. I originally intended to keep it to save my life later, but I didn't expect to use it so soon. Lord Liu. I stepped forward gracefully and curtsied to Liu Yan. I can testify that my husband was indeed in the study last night. A glimmer of hope ignited in Zhiheng's eyes, but my tone shifted, and a trace of shame and indignation appeared on my face. He was in the study, burning that lowly maid Liu's dudo. As for this token, I have never seen it. Liu Yan raised his eyebrows, looking at me with great interest. Oh, burning a dudo. The surrounding Jin Yi Wei all let out low snickers. A dignified great general, burning a maid's dudo in the study in the middle of the night. If word of this gets out, Zhiheng will have completely lost all face. Zhiheng's face turned the color of pig liver, yet he could only brace himself and nod. Yes, I was burning clothing. Compared to colluding with the enemy, the charge of being a lecherous pervert was obviously much lighter. Since it is a family matter, it is not appropriate for this official to investigate too deeply. Liu Yan stood up and put away the command token. However, seeing as this item appeared in the Xia manor, General Xia must still take a trip to the Imperial prison with this official to give a clear account of things. The Imperial prison, once inside, even if you didn't die, you would lose a layer of skin. Zhiheng panicked completely. Ning, save me, go beg father-in-law. Ask him to enter the palace and see the emperor to save me." He looked at me like a dog, his eyes filled with pleading. I looked down at him from above. Just yesterday, he was still scheming for the Shen family's military power and wealth. But now, he wants the Shen family to save his life. How ironic. Rest assured, husband. I took out a handkerchief, gently wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. My voice so gentle it could drip water. "I'll return to my maiden home right now and beg father." I paused. I leaned close to his ear and lowered my voice. "Take good care of you." I said the last few words very softly. Only he could hear. Heng's pupils constricted sharply. He finally saw the undisguised hatred in my eyes. "It is you," he roared and tried to lunge forward, but was pinned down tight by two Jinyue. "It was you who framed me. Take him away." Liu Yan gave the order. Heng was dragged out like a dead dog. As he passed by me, Liu Yan stopped. He took a deep look at me with those seemingly affectionate peach blossom eyes. "Mrs. Shen, impressive tactics," he said in a low voice, with a hint of playfulness in his tone. My heart skipped a beat. Did this living Yama see through me? "You flatter me, Lord Liu. I was merely speaking the truth." I lowered my eyes meekly. Liu Yan chuckled softly, said nothing more, and strode away. Watching the imposing imperial guards depart, I let out a long sigh of relief. First round. But this is just the beginning. Heng is, after all, a general personally appointed by the emperor. A single token isn't enough to kill him. Moreover, there is someone behind him. The person who truly wants the Shen family dead has not yet surfaced. I must take advantage of the time he is in the imperial prison to pluck his wings clean, one by one. First, it is that Liu, who is still in the woodshed, and that precious seed in her belly. The news of Heng's arrest spread through the capital as if it had grown wings. I didn't rush back to my maiden home, but went to the woodshed first. Liu had already been starved for 2 days. Her originally charming face was now sallow and haggard, her lips dry and peeling. Seeing me come in, a light of survival burst into her eyes, and she struggled to crawl over. Madam, save me. I have the general's flesh and blood, I know." I had someone bring a chair over and sat down, holding a steaming bowl of bird's nest porridge in my hand. The aroma drilled into Liu's nose, and she couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. "Want to eat?" I scooped up a spoonful and blew on it gently. I want it. I want it." Liu nodded desperately. What a pity. I flipped my hand, splashing the whole bowl of boiling hot bird's nest porridge directly onto her face. "This is a last meal for the dead." "Ah!" The screams echoed through the woodshed. Liu clutched her badly burned face and rolled on the ground. "Does it hurt already?" I looked at her coldly. "When you forged those letters and got my whole family killed back then, did you ever expect this day would come?" Liu was convulsing all over from the pain, but upon hearing this, she suddenly went stiff. "You? How do you know?" She widened her eyes in terror, looking as if she had seen a ghost. Only she and Heng knew about this matter. It was done seamlessly, so how could I possibly know? "If you didn't want anyone to know, you shouldn't have done it." I stood up, walked over to her, and stepped on her lower abdomen, applying a little pressure. "Ah, don't, my baby. I laughed until tears almost came out. "You think you deserve to have a baby? This bastard in your belly. Heng got you pregnant with it on purpose, just to humiliate me, didn't he?" Hoping to rise to power through a son, I suddenly pressed down hard with my foot. Dream on. Splurt. A stream of fresh blood gushed out from beneath Liu, staining the straw red. Her eyes rolled back, and she passed out from the pain. "Clean it up," I ordered the old servant behind me. "Throw her into the mass grave. Don't dirty the estate's grounds." After dealing with Liu, I immediately returned to the Shen residence. Father was pacing back and forth in the study, looking anxious. Seeing that I was back, He hurriedly came over to meet me. Ning, is it true about Shaheng? Did he really collude with the enemy? Looking at father's graying temples, my nose stung, and I knelt right down. Father, your daughter is unfilial. This kneeling was for the 72 wronged souls of the Shen family from my past life. Father was startled and hurriedly helped me up. What are you doing? Get up quickly. With red eyes, I revealed everything about Shaheng's deeds, as well as his plan to seize military power and harm the Shen family. Except for the fact that I had experienced rebirth, I told him everything else. After listening, Father's face turned livid, and he shattered the corner of the table with a palm strike. Wolfish ambition. My Shen family treated him well, yet he dares to scheme like this. Father spent his life in the military, and what he hated most was betrayal. Father, now isn't the time to be angry. I wiped my tears and analyzed calmly. Although Shaheng has entered the imperial prison, there is definitely someone behind him. That token can only hold him for a while. It can't convict him of a capital crime. We must seize this opportunity to make sure he can never rise again. How do you want to do it? Father looked at me, a hint of appreciation in his eyes. First, cut off his funding, I said. Shaheng keeps private troops outside the city. The daily expense is a bottomless pit. Before he relied on my dowry to support them. Now that I've cut off the money, his men will soon fall into chaos. Second, take back military power. The vice-generals under Shaheng are all fence-sitters. While he is away, Father can legitimately go to the military camp to reorganize and replace those people. Third, I paused, a trace of ruthlessness flashing in my eyes. I want to completely ruin his reputation. Shaheng cares most about his reputation. He packaged himself as a flawless scholar, general, a deeply affectionate and faithful husband. I am going to tear off his painted skin and let the world see what kind of rotten heart and lungs are inside. Just then, the butler ran in hurriedly. Master, miss, someone from the palace is here. They say the emperor has urgently summoned the master to the palace to discuss General Shi's collusion with the enemy. My father and I exchanged a glance. Here it comes. The real game has begun. The emperor is suspicious. Shaheng colluded with the enemy, but the emperor's first reaction wasn't to kill him, but to suspect if the Shen family was playing tricks. After all, that token appeared way too suspiciously. Father. I grabbed Father's sleeve. Once you enter the palace, just stick to one thing. You know nothing. Shaheng colluded with the enemy. The Shen family knew nothing about it. Even, I am a victim too. I pointed to the choke marks on my neck that hadn't faded yet. That was what I imagined last night, but I am going to make it real. I was ruthless with myself, pinching my neck hard several times until it turned a shocking purple. Father watched with heartache. Ning, you, the bitter flesh stratagem, I smiled. The emperor is suspicious. Only by making him think the Shen family and Shaheng have severed ties will he truly resolve to kill Shaheng. Father took a deep breath, nodded. All right, I understand. Watching Father's retreating figure, I clenched my fists. In this life, I absolutely won't let the tragedy repeat itself. But I never expected this. In this game, a Cheng Yaojin actually charged out. That Lu Yan who interrogated Shaheng in the imperial prison. That living Yama. Late at night, I had just returned to the Shay Manor when a dark figure cornered me against the wall. The icy embroidered spring blade pressed against my face. Madam Shen, what a move, killing with a borrowed knife. Lu Yan's voice was exceptionally deep and magnetic in the night. That token, you placed it there, didn't you? My heart skipped a beat. He really knew. I don't understand what Lord Lu is talking about. I feigned composure. Don't understand. Lu Yan chuckled lightly, the blade sliding down to stop at the side of my neck. Right there was the bruise I had pinched onto myself. So ruthless to yourself. He withdrew the blade and leaned in close, trapping me between him and the wall. Our breaths mingled. Madame Shen is quite a ruthless one, too. We can make a deal. He stared into my eyes as if looking at an interesting piece of prey. I'll help you nail down Sheheng's crimes and send him on his way. The condition? I asked. Pies don't fall from the sky, especially not from someone like Lu Yan. Lu Yan hooked the corners of his lips, revealing a wicked smile. I want you. He paused, his fingers gently stroking my chin. The list in your hand. My pupils suddenly constricted. The list. That was the list of all the officials Sheheng had secretly contacted, his life-saving amulet. In my previous life, that list didn't come to light until the very end. How could Lu Yan know I had it? Unless he went through rebirth too. List. My back pressed against the cold wall, my heart beating so fast it felt like it would jump out of my throat, yet I still had to put on a bewildered look. Lord Lu, you are joking. I am just a woman of the inner chambers. Where would I have any list? Could it be a discount list for some rouge shop in the capital? Lu Yan stared at me, his beautiful peach blossom eyes filled with mockery. He suddenly lowered his head and leaned close to my ear, his hot breath spraying against my neck, sending a shiver through me. Madame Shen, stop pretending. That old fox Jia Heng has tied his life and fortune to that fey records of officials' conduct, Fei. If he truly loved you, how could he not let you know where it is hidden? My pupils constricted slightly. Fei the records of officials' conduct, Fei. So that is what he is after. In his past life, Sheheng relied on this list, recording the dirty secrets of high-ranking officials to blackmail the court, allowing him to wield absolute power. This thing really does exist, and I know where it is. It is right inside the spirit tablet of Sheheng's dead mother. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Since Lord Lu knows so clearly, why not go search yourself? I asked back. I searched, didn't find it. Lu Yan took a step back, put away his earlier frivolity, and his gaze became sharp. Madame Shen, although Sheheng's charge of colluding with the enemy is serious this time, there is someone behind him protecting him. That token will at most make him shed a layer of skin. It won't kill him. You want him dead, and so do I. Why don't we cooperate? I looked at Lu Yan. This man is a good knife, sharp enough, and ruthless enough. How am I supposed to trust you? You have no choice. Lu Yan shrugged. Because the person protecting him is arriving tomorrow. When that time comes, not only will you be unable to kill Sheheng, but you'll be bitten back and accused of framing your own husband. My heart skipped a beat. Lu Yan's intelligence network covers the world. Since he says so, it must be true. Who exactly is the person behind Sheheng? All right, I gritted my teeth and agreed. But I can't get the list right now. With Sheheng in trouble, the Shay Manor is currently surrounded like an iron bucket. Once he is dead, I will personally present the list. Deal. Lu Yan curled his lips into a smile and turned to leave. Wait, I called out to him. Lord Lu, can you tell me who wants to protect him? Lu Yan stopped, turned his face sideways, revealing a cold profile lit by the moonlight. The most favored one in the court, Princess Ale. Boom. As if struck by lightning, it was actually her. In my past life, Princess Ale was always known for her virtue and modesty, having almost no interaction with Sheheng. Who would have thought they were actually having an affair? No wonder. No wonder Sheheng climbed the ranks so fast in my past life. No wonder after the Shen family fell, the emperor not only didn't suspect Sheheng but relied on him even more heavily. So he took the path of pillow talk. Lu Yan left. I stood in the cold wind, my hands and feet icy. If it is Princess Ale, then things are tricky. She is the emperor's darling, holding real power in her hands, harder to deal with than 10 Shehengs. The next day, sure enough, just as Lu Yan said, the situation instantly reversed. A decree came from the palace, stating that the case of Sheheng colluding with the enemy was full of doubts, and ordering the Dali Temple to retry it. Immediately after, An extremely luxurious phoenix carriage stopped at the entrance of the Shi residence. Princess Royal Ale Zhao Yan. She wore a bright red gold, threaded phoenix, tail dress, a 9 phoenix facing the Sunday crown on her head. She was breathtakingly gorgeous and menacingly aggressive. As soon as she got off the carriage, she didn't even spare a glance at the Jinyue kneeling on the ground, and waved her hand directly. Smash the door open for me. I'd like to see who dares to stop me from taking Prince Consort Xia back to the manor. Prince Consort? The crowd of onlookers around was in an uproar. When did Xia Heng become the Prince Consort? I stood at the door, watching this scene, my fingernails digging deep into my palms. In this life, because I made my move early, did I force them to expose their relationship ahead of time? Shen Ning. Zhao Yan walked up to me and looked down at me condescendingly. She was half a head taller than me, her phoenix eyes full of contempt and disgust, looking at me like I was an ant. Was it you who framed Xilang? Pa. Before her voice had even faded, a loud slap was delivered straight to my face. She was a martial artist, and her strength was immense. My head was knocked to the side by the blow. A trace of blood spilled from the corner of my mouth, and half my face instantly swelled up, burning hot. Watch your words, princess. I pressed my tongue against my cheek, spat out a mouthful of bloody foam, turned my head back, and looked at her coldly. Ziheng colluded with the enemy. The evidence is irrefutable. It was found by the Jinyue. Is the princess questioning His Majesty's imperial guards, or questioning the law of the land? Sharp-tongued. Zhao Yan sneered. That token was clearly stolen from the Shen family by you to frame Xilang. Shen Ning, you are jealous of Xilang's talent. And because you can't bear children, your mind is twisted. You actually want to drag the whole Shi family to be buried with you. What a massive accusation. This trick of biting back has truly been mastered to perfection. Where is the evidence? I asked. Evidence? Zhao Yan clapped her hands. The crowd parted, and a person covered in blood was dragged up. It was my personal maid, Chuntao. She was the dowry maid I brought from the Shen family, utterly loyal to me. At this moment, her 10 fingers were covered in blood. She had obviously been subjected to severe torture. Miss? Chuntao looked at me weakly, large teardrops falling down. I didn't confess. I really didn't confess. Zhao Yan stepped onto the back of Chuntao's hand and ground it ruthlessly. Aha! Chuntao shrieked. This wretched maid has already confessed. Zhao Yan pulled a confession with a bloody handprint out of her sleeve and waved it in front of everyone. It was you who ordered her to steal old General Shen's war trophies and plant them in Xilang's study at night. Shen Ning, the witnesses and material evidence are all here. What else do you have to say? I stared fixedly at that confession. That was a confession forced under torture. But I couldn't defend myself. In this era of supreme imperial power, the princess's words are the truth. The winds of public opinion changed. Heavens, so she is a poisonous woman. I told you General Xia is such a dashing man. How could he collude with the enemy? This Shen girl is truly vicious, even harming her own husband. The sounds of discussion surged like a tide. I stood in the center of the storm, only feeling cold all over. This is power. It can turn black into white, and turn the victim into the perpetrator. Guards, Zhao Yan gave the order. Seize this poisonous woman for me. Throw her into the death row of Dali Temple. 2 guards, fierce as wolves, rushed up and twisted my arms behind my back from left and right. Intense pain struck, but I didn't struggle. I knew that struggling now would only bring humiliation upon myself. Just then, a familiar voice rang out. Wait, Ziheng. He stepped down from that luxurious carriage. He was wearing a brand new brocade robe, his face ruddy. Where was the slightest sign that he'd been in prison? Clearly, he had a good time in the imperial prison, or maybe Zhao Yan had already picked him up long ago. He walked up to me, looking at my wretched state, a glint of satisfaction flashing in his eyes. You've disappointed me so much, he sighed. putting on an expression of deep distress. I know you hate me because of Liuer, but you absolutely should not have treated state affairs as a joke. If you were to implicate my father-in-law, how could you bear it? What a hypocrite. It was clearly he who wanted to harm the Shen family, yet now he turns around and accuses me. Ziheng. I looked at him and suddenly smiled. The way you live off a woman looks truly ugly. Ziheng's expression stiffened. This was his sore spot. Shut up. Zhao Yan was furious and rushed up to hit me again, but Ziheng stopped her. Princess, please calm down, Ziheng said softly to Zhao Yan, but his eyes stared at me like a venomous snake. She is my wedded wife after all, and she has lost her mind. I think we should lock her up in the manor to recuperate first. After all, dirty laundry should not be aired in public. Lock me in the manor. Alarm bells went off in my heart. If I went to the Dali temple, there might at least be an interrogation process. But if I am locked up in the Xia manor, that means falling into his hands. Crying to the heavens won't get an answer, and screaming to the earth won't get a reply. Does he want to secretly kill me, or force me to reveal the whereabouts of the Shen family military tally? Granted. Zhao Yan gave a sweeping wave of her hand. Zhilang is just too kind-hearted. In that case, lock this madwoman in the backyard without my orders. No one is allowed to visit. Take her away. I was forcibly dragged back to the Xia manor. The heavy gates slammed shut behind me, cutting off all light. I knew that the real hell was only just beginning. I was woken up by a basin of cold water being splashed on me. Opening my eyes, everything around me was pitch black. The smell of mold and rot drilled into my nose. This is the dungeon of the Xia manor. This used to be used to lock up servants who made mistakes, but later it fell into disuse. I didn't expect Xia Heng to bring it back into use. Awake? A sinister voice rang out. The lights flared up. Ziheng sat in front of the torture rack, toying with a barbed whip in his hand. Standing beside him was an old man dressed in the attire of an imperial physician. That is Imperial Physician Liu from the palace, skilled in using medicine. There are no outsiders here. Let's speak frankly. Ziheng stood up and walked up to me, step by step. He tore off all his disguises. That face, usually as gentle as jade, was now filled with hideous greed. Hand over the records of the 100 officials in your hand. Also, where is father? In-law's military tally hidden. Sure enough, it was for these two things. I was tied to the cross, unable to move, but I still laughed out loud. Ziheng, keep dreaming. I spat. Are you even worthy? Crack! A whip with barbs lashed ruthlessly onto my body, skin torn, flesh gaping, excruciating pain. I clenched my teeth, not uttering a sound. Stubborn, Ziheng sneered. Imperial Physician Liu, give her the medicine. Imperial Physician Liu walked over trembling, holding a bowl of medicinal liquid that emitted an eerie, sweet scent. Madam, this is good stuff. Imperial Physician Liu's voice was as unpleasant as sawing wood. It is called Ultimate Bliss Powder. Drink it, and you will have hallucinations. You will obediently speak out the secrets hidden deepest in your heart. Besides, when one drinks too much, one really does go mad. Ziheng pinched my chin, forcing me to open my mouth. Ning, if you behave yourself, I might just spare your life and let you be a wealthy idler. After all, you've been with me for 3 years. Get lost. I struggled desperately, but the difference in our strength was too great. The bitter medicine was forced down my throat. Cough, cough, cough. I coughed violently, feeling like my insides were burning. Ha 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 ha, Ziheng laughed wildly. Once I get the stuff, I'll send you on your way to meet that dead ghost father of yours. Wait, dead ghost father? I snapped my head up, staring hard at him. What did you say? Ziheng seemed to enjoy my terrified expression. He bent down, leaned close to my ear, and using the gentlest voice, said the cruelest words. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Just now, the princess has already taken your confession into the palace to see His Majesty. She said that you personally admitted the Shen family colluded with the enemy and betrayed the country, and that token is the proof. The emperor was furious and has already issued a decree. He paused, a vicious smile appearing at the corners of his mouth. The Shen family shall be executed, the entire clan. By now, the imperial guards should have already surrounded the Shen manor. Boom, the string in my brain completely snapped. Even if I experienced rebirth, even if I seized the initiative, was I still unable to change the ending? Number impossible. Father holds an army of 300,000 in his hands. How could the emperor dare to touch him easily? Unless Summonon tampered with things. Do you feel hopeless? Ziheng looked at my pale face, smiling extremely twistedly. I really have to thank you for this. If you hadn't taken out that real barbarian token, it really would have been hard for us to convict the Shen family. That token is real, you know. It was you who personally handed over the knife and killed your whole family. A mouthful of fresh blood sprayed out. He is not just killing me, he is breaking my spirit. This move of Sheheng's is too ruthless. He used my desire to turn the tables on him, beat me at my own game, and nailed down the Shen family's guilt. So, from the very beginning, I was playing right into his hands. The so-called collusion letter was probably just a decoy. He was just waiting for me to pull out the real token. I lost. I've lost completely and utterly. The drug is starting to kick in. The scenery before my eyes began to distort, and Shiheng's face turned into countless overlapping images. My head hurts so bad, like it is going to split open. Speak. Where is the military seal? Ziheng's voice became drifting and erratic, like a summons from hell. My consciousness was blurry, and my lips moved. It is in. Ziheng immediately leaned closer, his eyes full of ecstasy. Where? I used the last shred of my strength and bit fiercely at his ear. Ah! Ziheng let out a miserable scream, retreating while clutching his blood, dripping ear. You crazy bitch! He was furious and kicked me right in the chest. My vision went black, and I passed out completely. But in the last second before my consciousness vanished, I heard a commotion coming from outside the dungeon, and the sound of weapons clashing. Who is it? When I woke up again, I wasn't in the gloomy dungeon. Instead, I was in a bumpy carriage. There were thick, soft cushions beneath me, and a faint scent of pine lingered at the tip of my nose. Where is this? I moved my fingers with difficulty. My whole body ached like it was falling apart. Awake, a lazy voice came from beside me. I turned my head. I saw Lu Yan leaning against the carriage wall, playing with an exquisite dagger in his hand. He had changed out of his flying fish robe into a black martial outfit, looking even more tall and cold. Lu, Lord Lu. My voice was terribly hoarse. What? Thought you were dead? Lu Yan glanced at me and threw over a water skin. Drink some, that drug is strong, it hasn't fully worn off yet. I caught it and gulped down a few mouthfuls, and my mind cleared up a bit. You saved me? Who else? Were you counting on that old father of yours who only has brute courage? Lu Yan scoffed. But don't get happy too soon. The Shen family is indeed surrounded, but I got you out. Where is my dad? I asked urgently. Still in the manor. Lu Yan put away the dagger and looked at me with a deep gaze. Although the emperor is incompetent Shen Ning, the entire capital is hunting for you. I didn't save you for nothing. The thing I want the workhordes of the officials. I know, this is my only bargaining chip. Outside the city, I took a deep breath. The mass graves inside Luer's corpse. Lu Yan raised his eyebrows. You sure are ruthless, hiding such an important thing on a dead person. It wasn't hidden, it was sewn in, I said coldly. That day Luer miscarried and bled heavily. When I had someone dispose of her, I specifically took the thing Sha Heng hid in his mother's spirit tablet and sewed it into her belly. They're getting thrown into the mass grave anyway. Who is going to check a dead person? Lu Yan looked at me deeply, a trace of complex emotion flashing through his eyes. You've changed. Much more ruthless than 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I froze for a moment. How would Lu Yan know the me from 3 years ago? Back then, I hadn't married Shaheng yet. I lived a sheltered life in the boudoir and had absolutely nothing to do with the Jinyue. Did you make a mistake? Have we met before? We have. Lu Yan leaned against the carriage wall and closed his eyes. 3 years ago, a young lady from the Shen Manor was feeding fish by the Jimming pool. A stupid thief tried to rob her but was caught by the Jinyue. That young lady even pleaded for the thief, saying he might have resorted to such a desperate measure just to support his family. A scene suddenly flashed through my mind. That actually happened. It is just that there were too many Jinyue catching the thief back then. I didn't get a clear look at who was who at all. That Jinyue, was it you? Yeah. Lu Yan opened his eyes, his gaze dark and unreadable. I was thinking at the time, in this day and age, how could there still be such a stupid woman? A thief is a thief. It has nothing to do with whether they have difficulties. Mercy will get you killed. I fell silent. He was right. In my past life, I was just too merciful, too trusting of others, which was why I was thoroughly exploited by Shehong. The carriage stopped. We're here. Lu Yan jumped off the carriage and ordered into the darkness outside. Go dig up that female corpse. Soon, several Jinyue came back carrying a sack. It already stinks. Even though it is winter, it couldn't hold up after lying in a mass grave for several days. Dissect it. Lu Yan's expression didn't change. The Jinyue deftly used a knife to slice open the corpse's abdominal cavity. In a pile of rotting entrails, they found an oil paper packet. Unwrapping it layer by layer, inside was a yellowed booklet. The records of the 100 officials. It was densely packed with records of the dirt on officials high and low in the court. Who embezzled how much silver, who kept how many mistresses, who killed political enemies, who was in league with whom, everything was remembered crystal clear. Lu Yan flipped a few pages, his gaze becoming colder and colder. What is Shiheng? He let out a cold laugh. This list is enough to hang half the court. What are you going to do with it? I asked. Of course, to purge the court. Lu Yan closed the booklet, his gaze sharp as a blade. The emperor may be muddled, but he isn't truly stupid. He knew the court was rotten to the core, but he couldn't make a move because those people were deeply entrenched. One move would shake the very foundations. But now with this, he patted the booklet, then we can round them all up. My heart stirred. You want the emperor to use this chance to purge the court, and then bring down Grand Princess Ale? A hint of appreciation flashed in Lu Yan's eyes. Smart. Grand Princess Ale has monstrous power because she has a group of hard loyalists under her. Most of these people are on this list. Once they are removed, Ale will be a phoenix with broken wings. When that time comes, the Shen family's wrongful case can naturally be overturned. I stared intently at Lu Yan. Why are you helping me? He paused. It is not to help you. It is returning a favor. What favor? Lu Yan didn't answer, just looked at me silently. After a long while, he finally spoke. That stupid thief from back then was my brother. He really did steal just to buy medicine for his old mother. You pleaded for mercy, asking me to spare his life. He later became an informant for the Jinyue, earned quite a bit of merit, and now he is a Shaoqi. A few days ago, he died. Lu Yan's voice was very flat, so flat it was like he was telling someone else's story. But I saw his hand gripping the reins, his knuckles turning white. Who killed him? Xiheng. Lu Yan spat out the two words. Because he found out some things he shouldn't have, the illicit affair between Shiheng and Princess Ale, and evidence of their plot to rebel. Rebellion, I gasped. No wonder Shiheng dared to act so brazenly against the Shen family. It turns out his goal wasn't just military power, but the throne. Right, Lu Yan sneered. Anel is ambitious. She isn't content with just being a princess. She wants to be the empress. And Xie Heng was the pawn she chose. A pawn who was good at fighting and obedient. Once the Shen family falls and the military power of the northern frontier lands in Xie Heng's hands, they will make their move. My head was buzzing. So this was the truth. In my past life, not long after the Shen family was wiped out, the emperor died suddenly. The new emperor ascended the throne, but was assassinated right during the coronation ceremony. The court fell into chaos, and in the end, it was Princess Ale who turned the tide, reluctantly taking charge of the government. Right after that, Xie Heng was named Prince Regent. The two of them joined forces to control the court. I had thought it was a coincidence. Now it seems that they planned the whole thing from the start. So, you are doing this to protect yourself too? I asked. Sort of. Lu Yan didn't confirm or deny. The Jin Yue are the emperor's blade. If Ale wants to rebel, the first person she'll want to get rid of is me. Rather than waiting to die, it is better to strike first. Besides, he looked at me with a complicated look in his eyes. I owe your brother a life. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. All right, I'll work with you, but I have a condition. Speak. First, save my father and the Shen family. Done. Second, I want Xie Heng dead. I opened my eyes, the flames of revenge burning in their depths. Not just a simple death. I want his reputation ruined, and for him to be doomed beyond redemption. I want him to watch helplessly as all his schemes come to nothing. I want him kneeling before me, begging me to spare his life. Lu Yan stared at me for a long time. Finally, he nodded slowly. Deal. In the golden throne hall, the emperor sat upright on the dragon throne, his face livid. A dark mass of officials knelt below. Minister of Revenue, Vice Minister of War, Chief Minister of the Court of Judicial Review, Vice Minister of the Court of State Ceremonial. A full 37 court officials. Lu Yan, clad in a flying fish robe, held that records of official conduct in his hands, and was reading it aloud. With every name read out, an official would collapse limp to the ground. Lord Li, Minister of Works. In the first year of Yuanhe, embezzled 3 million taels of river repair funds, causing the downstream levees to burst, drowning tens of thousands of commoners. Vice-Censor-in-Chief Lord Wang, seeking advancement, sent his own sister to eunuch Wang to be his wife. Lord Zhao, the Vice Minister of Justice, illegally set up a private court and forced confessions through torture, destroying the families and lives of innocent commoners. A dead silence fell over the royal court. Only Lu Yan's icy voice echoed in the air. He paused when he read the last name. Minister of War Xie Heng, in collusion with Grand Princess Ale, intends to revolt. The evidence, he pulled a letter from his robes and held it high. It is a letter written by Grand Princess Ale's own hand. It clearly states that once the Shen family is wiped out, they will raise an army to rebel and support Xie Heng as emperor. Boom. The entire court went into an uproar. The emperor shot to his feet, his face flushed red. Insolent guards, seize Xie Heng and Ale for us. The imperial guards rushed in. Xie Heng's face turned deathly pale. He wanted to defend himself, but found he had nothing to say, because that letter was indeed in Ale's handwriting. Your Majesty, I am innocent. Your subject is innocent. Grand Princess Ale knelt on the ground, screaming herself hoarse. Who forged that? I have been nothing but loyal to my imperial brother. The sun and moon can bear witness. Forged. Lu Yan sneered. The princess might want to look at the date on this letter. The 15th of the 12th month, the 3rd year of Yuanhe. Where did the princess go on that day? Annel's face stiffened. On that day, she truly had written a letter to Xie Heng, but the content was definitely not about any rebellion. It was a love letter. How could she have known that Lu Yan had been watching her for a long time? That real love letter was intercepted by the imperial guards, and with the content slightly changed, it became ironclad proof of treason. Imperial brother, Annel still tried to struggle. The emperor had already completely lost his patience. Guards. Grand Princess Ale has colluded with court officials and plotted treason. Banish her to the cold palace, never to be seen again. Ziaheng has colluded with the enemy and rebelled. Escort him to the execution ground immediately to be beheaded at high noon. As for the Shen family, the emperor took a deep breath. Shen Qinghe has been loyal and brave for the country. I was momentarily misled by slander. It is truly my fault. Pass the decree, release everyone in the Shen family immediately. Restore them to their original posts and reward them with 10,000 taels of gold to show my sincerity. Thank your majesty for your great grace. Outside the hall, the Shen family knelt down in unison. Although father had lost a lot of weight, his spirits were still pretty good. I hid in the corner, watching this scene, and tears gushed out. In this life, I finally kept them safe. 3/4 past noon. Keishaku, a sea of people. I mingled in the crowd, wearing a veiled hat, unrecognizable to anyone. On the execution platform, She Heng was tied to a wooden stake. That once gentle and refined general now had disheveled hair and ragged clothes. Where was even a shred of his former grace? Zi Heng! I stepped forward and pulled off my veiled hat. When Xie Heng saw me, shock flashed in his eyes, followed immediately by monstrous hatred. Shen Ning, it is you! You set all of this up. That is right, I smiled. Starting from that token, every step was my design. Including Luer's death, including the exposure of the records of officials, including the revelation of your affair with Ale. It was all me. Zian trembled all over. How could you? You are clearly just a sheltered woman. Because I died once. I leaned down and whispered in his ear. You killed my whole family. I waited for you in hell for 3 years. God took pity on me, letting me live once more. This time, it is your turn to go to hell. Ziheng's pupils constricted abruptly, as if he had seen a vengeful ghost. Number, impossible. Nothing is impossible. I straightened up, looking down at him from above. Ziheng, do you know what I regret the most? It was being blind back then and marrying you. I was too merciful to you, not killing you sooner. But fortunately, it is not too late. I turned around. Supervisor, proceed with the execution. The executioner raised the ghost, head blade. A cold light flashed. Shen Ning, I won't let you go even as a ghost. Ziheng's final roar was cut off by a single slash. The head hit the ground. Blood splattered all over the ground. The onlookers cheered. Good. Well killed. Traitors like him deserve to be hacked to pieces. I quietly watched that rolling head, but there was none of the expected satisfaction in my heart. Only emptiness. Very empty. As if a chunk of my heart had been gouged out. Seen enough? Lu Yan was standing beside me before I knew it. Let's go. It is time to head back. I nodded. Just as I was about to turn around, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure in the crowd out of the corner of my eye. It was the Princess Royal Ale. How could she be here? Wasn't she banished to the cold palace? Annel's hair was disheveled at this moment, her eyes manic, clutching a dagger. She was charging straight at me. It is all your fault. It is all your fault. You bitch. You got my Shilang killed. I want you to pay with your life. In a split second, Lu Yan stepped in front of me, his Yuchun blade unsheathed. Clang! The blades clashed, sparks flew everywhere. Ail's dagger was knocked flying, and she fell to the ground. The Imperial guards immediately rushed up and pinned her down. The audacity! Lu Yan shouted coldly. Men, drag this mad woman away and beat her to death. Number, my Xialang. As Ail was dragged away, she was still frantically calling out Xie Heng's name. I watched her retreating figure, suddenly feeling it was a bit pathetic. A high and mighty princess, ending up like this for a man. Was it worth it? Let's go. Lu Yan put away his blade and looked at me. Your father is waiting for you. Shen Manor. Father sat in the grand chair, seeing me enter. His eyes reddened. Ah, father. I knelt down and kowtowed to him. Your daughter has been unfilial and caused you suffering. Silly child. As long as you are back safe, that is all that matters. Father helped me up and looked at Lu Yan. This is commander of the Jinyue, Lu Yan. Lu Yan cupped his fists in greeting. Greetings, Lord Shen. Lord Lu, you are too polite. Father sized up Lu Yan, his gaze thoughtful. I heard that being able to reverse the verdict this time was thanks to Lord Lu's help. I am endlessly grateful. Lord Shen, you give me too much credit, Lu Yan said indifferently. I merely did my duty. The atmosphere was a bit subtle. Father looked at me, then at Lu Yan, and finally sighed, a ning. Father, I know what you want to say. I interrupted him. In 3 years, I will divorce him of my own accord and go back to being a daughter of the Shen family. Father looked like he wanted to say something but stopped. In the end, he just nodded. Very well. You've suffered so much, it is time you rested. Bidding farewell to father, I walked out of the Shen manor. Lu Yan was still standing at the door waiting for me, not going back. I shook my head. Want to go somewhere? I'll go with you. Outside the city, the mass graves. The north wind howled, rolling up withered grass. I stood before a new grave. That was Luer's grave. It is ironic. She gave her life for Shaheng, but in the end, didn't even get a decent funeral. I was the one who had the headstone set up for her. Although she deserved to die, she was also a pitiful person. Do you hate her? Lu Yan asked. I do. I nodded, but not entirely. She just wanted to climb up. That is all. The fault lies with this man, eating world, and that man who used her. Lu Yan fell silent. After a long while, he spoke. What do you plan to do? What? Your future. I froze for a moment. The future. To be honest, I haven't thought about it. After my rebirth, my mind was filled with nothing but revenge. Now that I've gotten my revenge, I actually feel a bit lost. I don't know. I gave a bitter smile. Maybe just live out the rest of my life like this. That would be a shame. Lu Yan suddenly reached out and took the white flower off my head. Shen Ning, you are only 20. You've got a long life ahead of you. He looked at me, his eyes more serious than ever before. In 3 years, if you are willing, I'll marry you. My eyes went wide. What did you say? I said. I want to marry you. Lu Yan repeated. Not for anything else, I just think. A woman like you shouldn't live in hatred your whole life. You should have your own life. My heart suddenly started pounding violently. But what? Lu Yan raised an eyebrow. But am I not good enough for you, or do you think I am not good enough for you? It is neither. I lowered my eyes. I just don't dare to trust anyone anymore. Then take it slow, Lu Yan said. 3 years' time, enough for you to see clearly what kind of person I am. When the time comes, if you still aren't willing, I absolutely won't force you. He spoke so frankly, it actually made me not know how to answer. I'll consider it. Okay. Lu Yan smiled. That was the first time I saw him smile. Not a cold smile, not a sneer, but a real warm smile. 3 years later, the 6th year of Yuanhe spring, I stood under the plum blossom tree in the Shen residence, looking at the tree full of flowers. These 3 years, I haven't been idle. Using the assets Shaheng left behind, I opened an academy, specifically teaching those girls with no money to study how to read. I also set up workshops, allowing those women with no one to rely on to support themselves. Slowly, I discovered that in life, besides hatred, there are still many things worth doing. What are you thinking about? Lu Yan walked over from behind and handed me a cup of hot tea. For the past 3 years, he has kept his word. He didn't force me, didn't demand anything. He just occasionally came by the Shen Manor to sit and chat with me, like a friend, and also like family. I was thinking, in this life, I am finally living like a human being. I took the tea and smiled. Then, Luyan paused. Have you thought it over? I looked at him. This man, cold and tough, yet he had never forced me in the slightest. He gave me space, gave me time, and gave me the courage to trust this world again. I agree, I said. But there is a condition. What condition? From now on, you are not allowed to lie to me. Luyan smiled. He reached out and gently embraced me. It is a promise. The spring breeze blew past. Plum blossoms drifted down in a flurry. Like a grand, belated blessing. In this life, I finally protected everyone I wanted to protect. And finally, forgave myself.